Is winning too much a bad thing? You know, I love Jordans, wearing Jordans, and we laud him for winning 6 championships straight, but what about the failures? What about the teachable moment? In this video, I'm going to talk to you about how not to be overconfident and how to actually be successful failing at the same time. And I want to give you a scripture that you can use to work on your thoughts and your belief today. Now, back in 2001, I had just graduated from high school. And at that time, I was riding high on my success in track and field. Now, I didn't even want to do track my senior high school, but I wanted a Letterman jacket, not to just for track, but I actually wanted to use it for girls' numbers. The things we do for girls, right? Now, the girls' numbers didn't work out, but I actually found out something I was successful in. And so much success that I actually still have my high school record of jumping 6'10". And going to my first year of college, I thought that success was going to be duplicated, but even more. So much so that I started to get a little bit overconfident. You know, when you do something so well that you feel like you can keep doing it at a high level, and sometimes the stuff don't work like that. And that year, I really fell flat on my face. I not only became a little bit depressed, but I was injured most of the year, and I didn't even clear 6'10", none that first year. By December, I knew I was going to leave that university. So much so that I called the coach I was going to, and he said, "Son, we can't talk about this right now. You're in another school and this is illegal." And he hung up on my face. I was like, does he know who he's talking to? Even then, my overconfidence was a little bit arrogant. I ended up transferring that next year and also ended up quitting track for a couple months. I wasn't even thinking about track. I was clubbing, doing everything that I wasn't supposed to be doing, not in a negative way, but I was only focused on school, going out, having a good time as I transferred to my university in the city of Houston. But something kept gnawing at me. Something kept telling me that there was more that I was missing out. And from the late nights to the early classes, there were things that just couldn't satisfy. I felt like I left money on the table. And as I did that, I went back and walked on the Flying Tigers track team. By that time, I was humbled. By that time, I didn't have expectations. Even though I walked onto the track team, I really wasn't thinking about clearing 6'10". I really wasn't thinking about, hey, this is what I did years past, because the previous year, I failed miserably. I failed so much that those became my teachable moments. And that year, I can remember that I didn't even have track shoes from that coach because I was a walk-on. The practice shorts was serving as my meet shorts because I understand that they didn't believe in me. I had to believe in myself that I can go out and do something, go out and correct what I had first tried to quit. I even jumped in a black plain t-shirt my first meet. But by the third meet, I started jumping 6'10", and by the spring, I was already jumping 7 foot, and eventually it culminated to me jumping 7'6", which led to me qualifying for the A standard Olympic trials. Now that all sounds good, and I'm not videoing you today to let you know I've made it to Olympics, which I clearly haven't, and that's another story for another time. But that season, those 2 seasons taught me something. It taught me one thing, that just because you have success and you keep having success doesn't mean that you should be overconfident. In my overconfident, I slacked on my work and I thought I could repeat something just because I knew what to do. I wasn't putting in the same work. And I thought that just because I won, I could keep on winning. But that's just not life. And I'm going to read this verse to you. The verse is Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5, and it talks about trusting in the Lord. Okay? Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not rely on your own understanding. My first year of college was very difficult. And it was something in my life that was taught me something as I started getting older. It taught me that as you start getting older, there's certain storms that you can prepare for. There's certain battles that your parents can't guide you through, that you're gonna have to walk through that fire yourself and believe and know what God's doing for your life. And at that point in my life, my freshman year of college, I felt like I was walking alone. I felt deserted. My parents never ran at a university because we were first-time foreigners. They were from Nigeria. I couldn't talk to them about advice, but maybe I could. Maybe I could reach out. I was all alone in my cocoon and there was nobody to save me. And so much so that when I quit, I thought I was doing the right thing. If you look at the seed, most of the work is done underneath. When a farmer plants the seed, the roots have to go deep enough for the seed to even say, I'm going to start blooming flowers above ground. By the time you see a remnants of a leaf or things coming out the ground, the roots have done most of the work below ground. And for me as a young man, I had to understand that sometimes nature gives clue on success. And one of those principles I want you to know today is that a lot of times we think our failures are setbacks, but they're only detours to our eventual success. The reason why I had shin splints my first year of college because my body wasn't used to the workload from high school to college. Also, even though I felt my coach wasn't paying attention, I had to understand, regardless of what I felt, my job is to be the best version daily. I had to start re-engineering certain patterns in my life. I had to start understanding certain seasons in my life. I had to start understanding about how to be diligent in my work, be diligent in my body. There was a lot of things I had to be diligent on, and I didn't even understand that as a young man. Now in the Bible, it clearly talks about as a child, I thought as a child, I spoke as a child, I understood as a child, but when I became a man, I let go of childish things. And that year, I had to let go of childish things. I had to stop whining. I had to start becoming a man. And for our success, if we're successful too early and we haven't developed the certain systems internally to handle more success, then the little success that we have is just going to go away. So this video is not to tell you that you're doing bad, not to even criticize you. It's just to let you know that if you have failed, revise that and call it a teachable moment. Why didn't it work out? What can you be accountable in for it to work out next time? What in the defeat can you learn that will help you to win later on down the road? You had to have a compare and contrast. There's no night without a sun, and there's no success without failure. The call to action in this video is to stop looking at your failures as setbacks. Stop looking at your defeats as something that's devastating. Yes, they do hurt, but get the teachable moments from your failures. And remember, your failures are not setbacks. They are only detours to your eventual success.